my biggest regret is just,
I think that's a good place for your channel to go. Hearing
no
that,
one knew.
it really does hurt. Well,
Everything
thanks
has
thank you for calling out the camera thing. Thanks, man.
I wish.
So if you've ever searched for a tutorial of any sort when it comes to Adobe's suite of products, you've most likely ran into Justin Odisho's videos. He's an expert in products like Adobe Premiere, Photoshop, and After Effects, and he has close to 1,000 tutorials on his channel. I'll have that linked below. Recently, I was lucky enough to sit down with Justin and have a conversation with him about the hardware we use, editing, YouTube, TikTok, and just how he's been. So without further ado, here's a conversation with Justin Odisho.
Thanks for having me on, Sean.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I've been like wanting to do this for so long. When I seen that post that went up on Instagram, I'm like, yes, perfect opportunity.
Yeah, I wanted to just do, New Year's resolutions, whatever. I just had an idea.
Yeah.
Like, let me just do more podcasts. Why not? I haven't done one in so long. I have my own podcast where I interview people, but I saw a tweet and I was like, you know what? Let me just see who's out there who wants to talk.
Yeah, you were doing it. You were doing it for a while, and you had like a bunch of people on, dude. I seen like way back you did one with Daniel Schiffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I announcing his name
Yeah,
right?
we did that one in 2018 or something.
Yeah, and then you did one with Chris. You've done one with like a lot of the big dudes. They're like picking up insane steam.
Yeah, a lot of people that I had on the podcast have grown a lot since then too. Like when Daniel was on, I think he was just at 40,000 subscribers or something. Now he's at
no way,
1.something million. And we still talk to this day. We're gonna maybe do a follow-up episode, but everything's been so crazy with COVID and traveling and whatever.
Yeah, dude, don't even get me started with that whole conversation. That's a whole other. We could have a podcast just about that.
Yeah.
So dude, seriously though, I wanted to tell you because getting you on here to just chat is sweet, but anytime I have ever been stuck or stumped or hey, how do I do this or what could I do? I swear to God, I go to YouTube and I'm like, Justin Odisho transition, and then boom, everything. And you're an Adobe Premiere guy, so and I am too. So thank you for the time that you spent doing that, because you're the tutorial guy.
Yeah, I'm glad I've been able. I hear a lot of people tell me that too. So I think that's what works about my channel is, it's not like I'm making vlogs or whatever, but I have a catalog of 1,000 different videos, and every day I would try to wake up and say, okay, what sort of video can I make today that I haven't done already? So it'd be okay, how to fix audio or how to speed ramp or how to do this. And so I've covered a lot of the bases, hopefully, but I still have tons more ideas that I want to make.
Do you come up with them because you were stuck and you're like, oh wait, this would be a good idea for a tutorial?
It's hard to think about how I come up with them all now. I keep a notes app on my notes. If anyone's out there is a YouTuber, I think this is really important. Just keep a note app with video ideas or just ideas in general.
Yeah.
So every time I do come up with an idea, I write it down in there. So that way, when it does come time to work, I don't have to spend so much time thinking of the idea because I already have 100 different ideas to choose from.
Yeah.
But I also get lots of comments of people asking me hey, I how do I fix the audio when I speed ramp? And so that'll be okay, let me make a video on that because people want to know that. So it helps that people ask questions and DM me, and once in a while someone will send me a question. I'll think that'll make a good video. So that helps too.
Have you ever messed with Audition or any of those? So it's not just Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop. It's the entire Adobe suite, right?
Well, I have made a couple of videos on Audition, but I wouldn't say that the Adobe suite has dozens of apps on there.
Illustrator, dude. Illustrator's impossible.
Yeah. Illustrator is the one thing that I haven't really gone into on my channel. I want to. It's a goal of mine. I started my channel doing Photoshop, and then I also went into Premiere and After Effects. It seems like Premiere Pro has been the most popular thing on my channel, so I've been focusing on that. But just mainly photo and video editing. So Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop. Sometimes I'll do Lightroom, and then in the future, I'd love to learn more about Illustrator, but personally, I'm more of an expert on the Premiere side than the Illustrator side. Illustrator is hard, I
Dude,
would
it's
say.
insane. Like I opened it up and the tool set is completely different. So anytime I get
Yeah.
project files sent over to me from like a graphic designer or something like that, they'll send me the Illustrator file. I'm like, can you just do me a favor and send that as a Photoshop file? Because you can export it as Photoshop. Because like when I guess I can kind of maneuver around Illustrator, but if I'm trying to actually create a project in Illustrator, I can't do it. I can't. It's a whole
Yeah.
nother beast, dude.
A lot of people feel that way about After Effects too. I think if you just learn the, it's just confusing because Illustrator does have a unique tool set. Like even if you use Photoshop in Illustrator, you'll kind of be lost. So
I wonder why they did that. Like, I wonder why it's so radically different. Like, even something like the select tool is different. It does something, it like operates differently than it would in Photoshop, which is so strange. How deep in are you with like Adobe? Like, do you like have conversations with any of the tech people involved? Because your channel, dude, it's like everything Adobe.
in the beginnings of my channel, I mean, Adobe's a really big company. Like, every department is different. Whether it's Premiere team or Adobe stock. So it's kind of hard to get in touch sometimes. But in the beginning of my channel, not really. But now lately, I mean, I have worked with Adobe. I've done videos for their Creative Cloud channel, and I just did a live stream, teaching on their channel. So
Yeah.
nowadays I do have more context there, and um, but I don't have like a direct like single person. It'll just be more
Right.
like here and there, someone from a certain team will want to chat or something relevant. It's not like I have like a direct manager at
I was gonna
Adobe or
tell you to
something.
have him fix Illustrator. Damn.
I wish I had that power to just say, can you guys put this feature in?
Do you edit on a Mac or on a PC?
I edit on a Mac.
Really? And you use Premiere?
Yeah. Yeah, I just never really got into Final Cut because I started out the whole thing, my journey in Photoshop. So I was always in the Adobe ecosystem.
Mm.
And I used to use Sony Vegas a long, long time ago.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, now I use Premiere. The whole Final Cut for first Premiere. Now there's even like the DaVinci team. I just like
Yeah,
poking
there is.
fun at
There's a
it
Da Vinci clan.
yeah. I just make memes because people like the memes. I don't personally care like if like it's not that serious to me if someone uses Final Cut
Right.
because it's basically all the same. Like if you edit videos, a cut is a cut. It's just the tools and the software is different.
Yeah, I come from way back when there was Final Cut Studio and you'd buy this big box set and then you felt like, dude, I'm a real editor now. You go and you buy the big box set and I was editing in there and then I remember when the update came and it was Final Cut, I don't know, 10, where they changed the tool set, they changed the way the timeline functioned. And then Adobe Premiere, what they did was they allowed people to download that whole suite for like free for 3 months. I was like, all right, I'll give that a shot. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly how Final Cut used to function. And after that, I never went back. It reminded me of like a watered down version of what Final Cut used to be. And it's now like iMovie. And even watching the F-Stopper videos and seeing how they were editing and the way everything was like magnetic on the timeline was weird. Like, I don't know how people can do that, but I will say this, because you're on a Mac and I seen them using it, dude, like the plugins and the way it was so smooth. The timeline was butter, dude. It was butter.
Yeah.
Is it
I
something to
haven't really
consider?
done testing.
Really? Never?
I mean, yeah, I haven't because I already am on like a really powerful machine,
What
and
do you
so
use? What?
it's an iMac Pro. I mean, I used to use a laptop, just a regular MacBook,
Yeah.
and I've used really old iMacs, like when I first started in like 2007. So I've been like back then, like you have to wait like 3 days for your project to render.
Yeah, I
To
know.
to,
I know.
to now, it's I don't know. To me, it's like everyone says, why don't you use Final Cut because you're on a Mac, but it's already like fast enough for me that I'd
Yeah.
rather not like learn the different
No, I
tools.
get it.
And also like when you use Photoshop and After Effects, everything's all dynamically linked, and you can send the things right over. And then if you switch over to Final Cut, you can't really like send it to After Effects as
You know, that's interesting. Do they
easily, I
still
think.
have, do you know if they still have like Motion? You remember Motion? They had Apple Motion and that was like their thing for After Effects.
I actually am not familiar with that.
I wonder. Yeah, I couldn't use it. I remember I used to, back in the day, I tried to, and I was, then when I seen After Effects and I seen how, what the tool set was, and dude, like that's literally what they are using on real deal Hollywood projects is After Effects, depending on what they're trying to do. But like, you know, that 3D motion tracking, they'll dump it into, gosh, what's the program that's linked to After Effects? It escapes me.
Oh, like Mocha.
Mocha, yeah. Like once I started seeing how they were using it, I was like, why would anybody use anything else? This is ideal. The way it's all
Yeah.
tied in is insane.
I mean, I've interviewed a few people who are like music video editors and stuff like that, and they use Final Cut. But what they said is just like what you said. They use the old version of Final Cut, like Final Cut 7,
Still?
like which looked well as far as they could. I don't know if they had to switch eventually,
Right. Yeah.
but like those all look more like something like Premiere or you know that sort of editor. And then like you said, when they switched over to Final Cut Pro or whatever, they made it more like magnetic timeline, more like
So weird
kind
that
of
they
like
did that, dude, because they changed the tool, the industry standard tool set, and the industry standard was set by like Avid. So whatever Avid did, that's what everybody else was doing. And when they changed it in Final Cut, it was like, I didn't understand. They received a lot of backlash at the time for that, but I don't know, whatever. People still use it. I know
could I
Daniel
ask?
uses it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And he does great videos. Could I ask how did like so you've probably been editing a little bit longer than me. Like when did you start editing?
I've been a
Before the
nerd.
whole YouTube
Honestly, I've been
scene?
like a nerd since like 8th grade, right? So I
Yeah.
was the guy that was like rocking Spider-Man shirts and the comic book I take it to school with me and Batman stuff. And I would always edit. And I used to have I think it's called an LTO thing, a tape deck, where I would splice my own videos together. That's how I started editing, was just splicing my own videos together. And my family used to own a video store. I used to grab video clips from each movie, and I used to cut the videos. I'd get in a lot of trouble for doing this, obviously. My parents would kill me.
Yeah.
But I would splice my own videos together, and that was how I started editing and putting things together. Then I got my first, Apple computer in like 2002, and I discovered iMovie, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then I had a mini DV camera, and I was plugging it in and filming stuff, and then it just like, you just slowly work your way in. Like my big break came when I was like, I think it was like 2005-ish or 2006. They were going to film Transformers here locally. And that year I had won a commercial contest for WoW Cable, which it was the worst commercial. Like, honestly, I should not have won. I really shouldn't. I should not have won. So my family kept going in and voting, and honestly, that's why I won. Because the guy that was supposed to win, his video was flawless. It was so good. I feel really bad about that. But anyways, I ended up winning, and then I ended up getting work on the first Transformers movie. And I was like just basically sweeping. I was like a PA, like the most bottom of the barrel thing. And I just worked my way up, man. And it was hard. Like it's not what people think. The industry is interesting.
Yeah. I was gonna say because I started more in like 2006, 2007, and that's like right around the time YouTube started, and so I immediately was able to jump into just like sharing videos online. And it's kind of crazy to think that there was a time before YouTube
Right?
existed.
Right? Yeah, I know. Like, because, I do have one big regret. When I first started my YouTube channel, my goal was to kind of show people what I was capable of creating and not continue on YouTube and work my way into that industry instead of just focusing on frickin' YouTube, not knowing the monster that it was going to become. Like you, I went back yesterday, I was looking at your videos and I'm like, dude, this guy was doing the same content. Like you knew exactly what to do. You were pumping out tutorials in I think 2011. I'm like, this guy, beast. Like just
Well, I
kind of
didn't
focuses
know.
that, man. Like that is unbelievably determined.
I didn't know though. I just was doing it for fun, and I was having trouble with copyright issues, and it seemed like educational content was a safe outlet to share something that I enjoyed doing online. But I also have regrets where, I didn't just upload straight through from 2011 to 2022. I took years off at a time to just because I
Gosh.
was going to school and whatnot. And
Yeah.
my biggest regret is just not just starting 2010, just uploading every single day, like till 2020.
Gosh,
You
man,
know,
I know, like hearing
no one
that,
knew.
it really does hurt. Cause like I had the opportunity to, like I had that big break, that one video that caught fire right away. And it was before the Flash was a thing, and it was like there was no fan film for the Flash. And I found a hole. I saw what like Corridor Digital was doing. I saw what Freddie Wong was doing, and I'm like, maybe I can do a short film about the Flash. I ended up shooting it, and we got like, I don't know, like 100,000 views our first night. And I was like, what? Like it blew up. But then it was like, I was so dumb. Like in my head, I was like, mic drop, look what I could do. And I didn't have any content lined up for the next week or the next day. And dude, my subscribers blew up, and yeah, that's like my biggest regret is I wish I would have had something ready.
I think that's something that's always continuing to happen is like, you know, once you stop putting out content, then eventually there will be new audiences and new people putting out content. And so it's really it's like a pro and a con in that starting today, there's always new audience. And so like if you just start pumping out content after content after content, you could catch right back up. And the same with me, like if I could feel like mic drop, I already did everything. Like I have 1,000 videos, blah, 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 but I'll regret it in 2025 when I think, oh, I like, look at like TikTok and all these things that have happened, like, and the new generation coming up, like they don't remember what was happening in YouTube on 2017, 2018. So if you
Right.
just keep making content, um, then that's how you remain, discovering new audience and remain sort of relevant
That's the other
on
problem too
YouTube.
now is like people, like when you create content, you can't just create it just for YouTube. Like you also have to have like a mini clip that goes on Instagram and then TikTok and then Snapchat. It's like, dude, it really is overwhelming. It's like,
Yeah,
whoa.
and that's something I don't even, I like, I don't, I don't post on TikTok like every single time I post. It's something I would need help for. Like I would need to have someone helping me to like do all the others. And I think if anyone out there is trying to start a channel, like I would almost recommend thinking about just focusing on one thing, like just your Instagram or just your YouTube or just your TikTok or whatever. And then once you've built up like a solid base on there, like then you can try to like transition it also onto like Twitter or something.
Because it's
But if you
overwhelming.
try to do, yeah, if you try to do everything all at once, like I think you might spread yourself too thin.
Yeah, that's interesting because now YouTube even has like YouTube Shorts. And it's like, do you have a separate channel for that? Do you do a separate channel for just your YouTube Shorts? I don't know.
Yeah, that's another conversation is like how many different channels you split up for like behind the scenes or vlogs or whatever. I've always just thrown everything on just on one channel, which I think has its benefits and its negatives. I feel like the YouTube algorithm is always changing and like, you know, you don't want to annoy your subscribers if you just start doing random shorts, but I just didn't ever find it worth it for me to start a whole new channel just to try like one new thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that new creators might run into like an issue is, you know, it's the same thing. It's like focus on your one channel, but then like you'll have someone just starting out and they'll have their vlog channel and their shorts channel and their thing channel,
Yeah.
and it's too spread thin before they built up the momentum in the first place.
See, that's a problem that I have too. I've been feeling it a lot more now because I'm more active on YouTube than I ever have been, and I'm getting a little bit of traction. But something that I'm noticing is like I'm getting all these people, these companies send me emails like, hey, we want you to feature our light, and I'm like, at first I was like, sweet. Send it over and I'll review it. And if it's good, I'll talk about it being good. But if it's bad, I'm going to say it's honestly a bad light. So I'm going to be honest about it. But now I find myself like kind of being cornered into a specific type of content that like dude, I just don't always feel like talking about that. Sometimes I just want to talk about something else. Sometimes I want to just play a video game. And like, but then it's like, are you going to alienate your people that are watching your other videos? Like, it becomes like, when it starts to turn into a job, it becomes more difficult to be like upbeat in front of the camera and doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point, because if you're gonna do it as a job or as a business, I think there is a little bit of sacrifice to where, yes, I'm interested in video editing and this is something I've done as a hobby for fun and all that, but it's not like it's still I have to sacrifice something in coming up with good educational content to share that. It's not really about me having fun, even though I enjoy it. It's more about like what is the viewer going to get from this, and I think there always has to be a balance, because if it's only about me having fun doing it, then it doesn't really work as a business at that point, because
Right.
or like it'd be harder. So I think if you're trying to make it a business, which you don't have to, I mean, not everyone has to do YouTube as their business or job. Like, you can just have a fun outlet. That's how I started. But if you do want to transition from like that fun outlet to also being a business, then you have to also kind of give, and it's like a give and take. Sometimes you got to give more than you take from it.
That's a really smart way of looking at it. I've actually never looked at it that way. I've always thought about how can I do this where I'm just like doing what I love to do. But I've never really, yeah, you have to think about the viewer, the other side. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
because I mean, think about, how do you watch YouTube?
Yeah.
Or like, what bothers you, or what do you like about channels?
I don't know, man. Sometimes I just fall into like that black hole of YouTube where I'm learning about what the nearest black hole is that's about to eat us as a planet, and I'm just like, what am I?
Yeah.
What is? And like the next day, be having a conversation with somebody. They'll be asking me about editing. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but did you hear about the black hole that might be sucking up Earth soon?
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a good point too, is like, people, like, there's certain emotions that you want to play on. Like, before you even start a video, that's another thing to think about, is, do people care about this or want to watch this? So I already saw that there was an audience for people that wanted to learn Photoshop and eventually learn video editing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But if I just post about my day, maybe there's no one out there that cares about like what my day was. Or like, let's say there's a lot of really weird niches on YouTube, like you said. Like, there's people who are really into coffee, and you'd think like, who would watch? Like,
Yeah.
how big could that be?
Right.
But there's channels with over 1 million subscribers that literally just talk about like how they make coffee and their coffee grinders, and it's so. And so if you start, if you what, I'm getting a little off, like, all
No,
over
no,
the
I
place.
get it. I get it. I
My
get it.
coffee is hitting me, but
Yeah, no, I try. I'm on like 2
there
espressos myself.
there's existing communities on YouTube already, such as the filmmaking community, or the video editing community, or even more specific, like the Final Cut community, the
Yeah.
Premiere community. They already exist, and you might be a part of them. And I would think about like, what communities are you a part of, and what can you contribute to that community that might make people want to watch you, instead of just trying to come up with a random topic out of thin air.
And then I tried the vlog thing for a minute too. And I was like, my days aren't interesting enough to do vlogs. They're just not. Michigan is,
Yeah.
there's nothing here at all.
I tried to do a few vlogs. Just, I think everyone did back then, but it's not necessarily for me either.
Outside of like YouTube, what's your thing? Do you do anything else, or are you YouTube full time?
As far as like for work, like, this is my business full time.
Yeah.
But as far as like things I enjoy,
Yeah.
I enjoy I enjoy random stuff
Are
too.
you do
like,
game? Are you a gamer?
I like playing chess. Is that a game?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to actually play video games a lot more when I was younger. That's actually how I got started, is like video games, like making video game clips and stuff. But
Really?
I kind of, yeah, like
Interesting.
Halo.
Oh, I've been playing
I
Halo
kinda-
recently.
Yeah, I stopped playing games, I think, somewhere around the time that Call of Duty was popular. I don't know. I just got into other things.
Yeah. No, I'm a gamer, dude. I like, for me, that's my like release from the creative part, where people aren't calling me and asking me to be creative, and I'm like, you know what? now I get to just play games online, and it's kind of like a hangout with friends, especially during like 2020, during like the whole COVID thing when nobody was going anywhere, and some people were like, "Who cares? Let's all just go out." And I'm like, maybe we shouldn't. Let's just get online and we could just game. I feel like that kind of, I got reconnected with that like feeling of wanting to game, you know?
I was gonna say it seems like a lot of people during those times where everyone was just inside was I did see a lot more people like were just online, so I saw more people wanting to learn editing, and there was like a spike of searches and stuff on my channel. So that was, one silver lining to that.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm lucky that everything we do is online, like you're saying. So um, sometimes it is. I mean, like here we are on a Zoom call. That was something that like became popular. Sometimes it is nice to do things like in person and travel, but
Yeah.
it did open up like different, like let me try doing podcasts over Zoom, or let me try doing whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't even remember. It was a blur. It was a
Yeah.
blur of a year.
Um,
I tried to work. I tried to.
I know people were working out more, but that's interesting because I am curious to know, like, what did YouTube see and Netflix see in terms of people now streaming and getting on and browsing? I wonder, did they never released any of those numbers that you know of, huh?
I don't know like about overall official numbers, but personally in my own analytics, I did see like a spike of, not like a massive like insane life-changing spike, but there was a little uptick in people, and I would assume that's just because many more people were stuck at home and trying to discover different hobbies,
Yeah.
or also even work. Like maybe some people were displaced in work, and maybe they were dusting off their editing skills to try to
Yeah.
transition and make some money or something.
I almost wonder if people like the whole podcasting really blew up too, but I almost wonder if people like, like Joe Rogan and all that, I wonder if those guys got as big as they did because of COVID, like because of people listening in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't. I wasn't paying attention too much, but definitely, I think it. Well, what I've some thoughts that I've seen some people have say is that it has just accelerated like the trend of people jumping online and everything becoming like virtual.
Yeah.
And I do think some things were just like never gonna fully go back, like, well, or like the whole work from home and certain things that it just has accelerated that might have happened eventually, but now we're jumped right into it with
Yeah.
no like setup.
Um, you were saying something about TikTok too. So of the platforms, which platform do you think, in your opinion, is the hardest to catch like traffic on? Is it TikTok, Snap, Insta?
I'll say, I mean, well, I'll just go with the one that I have the least followers on, is Twitter.
Twitter? Is it because you
Well,
put
just
less effort in though, maybe?
yeah, probably. And then probably it's not as popular as TikTok, and it's not a visual medium, so you got to be a little bit more. I don't know how it works. It's harder to, like, to me. I started a TikTok just to try it out, and it was somewhat easy to figure out the algorithm and get a few followers. And Instagram and YouTube, you figure out memes do good on Instagram, and Twitter I think is a little harder because you have to always be like tweeting and coming up with thoughts, and
And retweeting
I don't
and
know.
yeah, really
Yeah.
engaging with that community. Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
see it, some people run great accounts and get some people's main account is Twitter, and I guess it's more like political and writing based rather than visual and content based. But
Dude, so I've been watching like Instagram Reels a lot lately. I've been spending it like consumes me. Once my thumb starts going, it's like, oh, I'm like 100 videos deep. Have you been paying attention to people's edits of how they're cutting these videos together? Like, where did these editors come from? Suddenly everybody's a good editor, right?
I agree. Yeah, there's a like some like I guess some people just get into editing, but like there's really young creators that are doing crazy masking and crazy looping and cutting, and
Yeah.
special effects in After Effects, and maybe they just learned online, and
And
maybe
then
they
edit.
just
Maybe they found one of your videos, and then like maybe
maybe.
they're like even their syncing of the edit to the music is like mind blowing. I'm like, dude, that is so good. I'm using like I'll try to do a reel, and I'm having a hard time understanding how are they grabbing that sound clip and editing it so well, because there's no real easy way to do it through Instagram. So they must be using some third-party app, but then how are they syncing the music so perfectly? Is it like trial and error, or like,
I think what you said is something to remember is that there is oftentimes some of these creators you see like they're not jumping into Premiere and After Effects. They're just doing everything on their phone. And this is a comment I get a lot. It's like, how do I do this on my phone, on my channel?
yeah,
And it's something I want to do more. Like, I feel like there needs to be more like mobile editing things.
for sure.
But there's always like a third party app. And sometimes you might see a cool effect. For anyone out there that's listening that thinks it might be too hard or sounds scary, usually like something that you think looks crazy, it's just like something simple that is just in an app that you don't know, or like some button that you don't know that if you Googled it enough, you might figure out how they're doing it. But
Yeah.
and the thing you said about scrolling too, I think like maybe some of these kids have probably been editing in a way like on their phone, or they've been editing since they were born. Like they've always had an iPad and always been editing things, and I
Right.
think maybe that might also be why you might see a 12-year-old who just does some crazy effects, you know?
Yeah, I mean, their editing has gotten so good, and it's just like that rhythm, and there's so many different trends that people are doing and songs that they're following, and each of them are like truly unique. And then also, the funny thing is like I'll go watch and I'll see this person take pictures of all these amazing fantasy like locations, waterfalls, and it's edited to this really cool beat. Like, damn, what am I doing? Why aren't I out there taking pictures of waterfalls? Like, these are sweet. I think that's a good place for your channel to go, is like editing on mobile, like because there's
100%.
Adobe Rush right now. People use that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've made some videos on Adobe Rush, but I even want to get more into just like what can you do that's right at your fingertips, like even if you don't want to get into any of these apps. But
right.
it's just hard. Like I said, like sometimes there's just so many different things that need to be done, and just one person, and you also have to shower and sleep and family and all that.
Yep.
So
Yep. That's a struggle, man. And like I said, like for me, when I'm trying to pump out content, like I'm not always in a good mood. I may be having a bad day, and I'm not as like happy as I should be. And I know that my audio is not going to sound right, or I'm just not going to bring that energy that I normally bring. And then like I don't always feel like talking about camera gear, you know? Like there's times when I'm like, dude, I just don't feel like going down that road right now. But then like a week or two will pass and I'll be like, damn, I should have uploaded 5 videos.
it
Yeah.
always feels better when you get it done, but sometimes you get in a rut or phases.
How often are you uploading right now?
Right now, it's been quite a slow period on my channel because I've just got a lot going on. I was moving, and I have all this. I have different things going on, and so I'm trying to at least get a couple of videos up, at least once a week. But eventually, I want to get back to, the ideal goal for me is daily.
Yeah.
But sometimes I go through periods of like 2, 3 months where some big project is taking up a lot of my time, and so I have to, take a pause on YouTube. But you get this weird upload anxiety. I don't know if you get it, but
Oh,
it's been more, yeah,
yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
it's been more than like 1 or 2 weeks. You just start feeling like your channel is gonna die and
Yeah.
no one's gonna remember. But luckily, I've been able to. I think because what I do is educational, that sometimes you might see a video, it's 2 years old, but it still works and it's still relevant. So I've been lucky that I have a large catalog that sometimes I can take a couple weeks off to do something. But I don't want to do it for too long. I want to get back to the grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I have upload anxiety, or content, like just content in general anxiety. Before I click the upload button, well, first getting back into it, I start thinking about I waited too long. I shouldn't have waited that long. But then when I finally do shoot it and I'm ready to upload it, I think to myself, like, is this good enough, or am I just uploading it because I think I should upload it because I've waited so long? And then I click the upload button. I'm like, oh my God, now it's out there and everybody's going to critique it. Was the lighting right? Did it look good? I go through this whole it's like Olympics in my brain, just trying to process whether or not what I just did was worthy of what I know I can create, and how many people are going to critique it.
And I think that's another thing with like different kinds of content, like reels and shorts is, I mean, nowadays they're really polished too, anyways. But something like stories is a good place to still be able to connect with people, but not have the pressure of like it needs to be perfect because it's going to disappear anyway. Or like live streams. I don't know if you have much fun with live streams, but those are fun too because you just go live and you don't have to be so
Yeah, but
anxious about
that's like,
editing.
what if I say like I gotta be careful with what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, and I want to do the live
Yeah,
stream thing, but
definitely.
it's hard, man. That's like that's difficult for me. You've done a
Yeah.
live stream, right? You've done a couple.
Yeah. I enjoy live streaming, but like you said, there's it has its own technical difficulties, like, you know, the camera and all these
Yep.
wires and there's all these lights and
Well,
everything has 1 hour
thank you for
battery.
calling out the camera thing. Thanks, man. Thanks.
No, I mean that's happened to me all the time, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to get everything set up. So that's actually one thing I'm working on is just setting up an area where I don't have to, you know, construct it and tear it down every time. Just like
Yup.
it's always there. All I have to do is just push a button and it can. That's the goal, to be able to produce more content more easily.
Yeah, that's the best thing about having my studio space is I have my YouTube area where this is where all my YouTube content's created, and then I have like my client area where that's where we shoot like whatever they're trying to create, whether it's like wardrobe photography or whatever it is. But having everything on constant power, so you don't have to remember to charge everything, and you just one remote, and I have a couple different remotes because the lights aren't all synced, but just flip everything on, click record, and go.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting.
Always keep lots of batteries around anyone.
Yeah, seriously, like that is the worst when you're in the middle of filming and then the light goes out or the cameras weren't charged, and just have an abundance of that stuff ready to go. And constant power. I think constant power is important. If it could be just plugged in, that's the best way to go. When you do your tutorials and stuff, do they lead to like a specific piece of content that was created for somebody that you're working with, or is it like you created something and you're like, you know what, that's a good idea for a tutorial?
So it goes both ways. Sometimes like I was working on something personally and I come up with like a good solution or a cool like trick and I think that's a good tutorial. Or sometimes I'll run into a problem and I'll come up with something and I'll think other people probably have that problem too, so it's a good solution. But then other times I'm strictly just like coming up with content just for a tutorial. And then the opposite happens. People will email me and ask if I can, like, like audio spectrums and After Effects stuff.
Yeah.
I've had a few people email me like if I could make them an audio spectrum for their podcast or their channel or something because they don't know how to use After Effects, but they saw the video. So it goes both ways.
For color grading, are you big on color grading?
I like color grading. I wouldn't. I know there's some people that are like just dedicated colorists.
Like
And,
wizards. Some people are like wizards,
yeah,
and I'm like, dude.
and they have like the keyboard and all the rolly balls and stuff. I'd say I'm pretty competent and I can do it. It's not necessarily like my one big thing.
Do you ever mess with any of the Red Giant plugins?
Actually, I have talked with. I feel like there's two of them. There's Red Giant and there's like another company, and I was actually talking with them to make some videos on some of their effects. So I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but maybe in the future it is something that I
Yeah,
can show.
I think that's the coolest thing about your channel, honestly, is that like everything, for the most part, I'm 99% of your stuff is, if you have Premiere, here's what you can do in it. And that's sweet. Like no plugins, here's what you got to do. It was like, I remember the Andrew Kramer days. Do you remember Andrew Kramer?
Oh yeah, he's a big. I mean, he was one of the big guys that was around when I was just starting. So
Yeah.
he's like an OG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you do any stuff like with NFTs, content by like Justin, NFTs?
I haven't gotten to. I have products that I sell on my web shop. Like speaking of like Video Copilot, so like I sell the presets and those sort of things that you can put into your program.
Yeah.
But I haven't really gone into the whole NFT thing. I just can't quite wrap my head around it.
Yeah. It is an interesting time. It's like you're buying something. I mean, you're buying something that's digital, and
Yeah,
somebody is minting that thing so that it's having its value. But like, who says what that is? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of object to the idea of it. Like I do understand it, and I think it's cool, and I think the art around it is cool, and I think the community and the culture around it is cool. But I personally just don't necessarily agree with it technologically that it actually works and
What about
is
crypto? Do you
what
feel the
it
same way about
is.
crypto?
Uh, I I think Bitcoin's interesting. I accept it on my web shop, and I think it's a bit like it definitely has its own challenges, and it's a bit utopian and or like
Yeah.
idealist. But I think it's cool. But I do think there's issues with like a lot of the other things like random like meme crypto coins and things that people just jump into and they don't really try to understand if they agree with it technologically or and a lot of it is really complicated so it's hard so you might just jump into NFTs and think like it sounds like a great idea and it's really hard for like most people to understand because there's so many complicated things but I don't know personally in my research I just don't really feel like it
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
Yeah, no,
What do
I
you
get it.
think?
I get it. It's the same for a lot of people, including myself. I get it. It's cool, like, but who knows where it's gonna go or what's gonna become of it.
Yeah.
Um,
YouTube just said they're looking into it or something, but I feel like that's just because it's popular
what
right now.
NFT?
Yeah, YouTube said something about they're looking into how they can like explore that space.
Oh, you know what? I did. I think I did see an announcement about something like that.
And on Behance, on Adobe Behance, they already have like a place where you can like link your profile or something with
Isn't
an
that crazy how
NFT.
something took off like in a matter of I don't know, maybe like 8 months? It's been about 8 months when it really blew up.
Yeah, yeah, it's been around for a long time, I think, but it's just kind of like really caught on recently.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something. So, because of all of the tutorials and stuff that you do you ever have people send you a DM and say, "Hey, what can you do if X is happening in Premiere?" Are they expecting like one-on-one troubleshooting?
I do get, regularly get emails and DMs, and I try to help as much as I can. Sometimes the problem is I just don't always know the right answer. So sometimes it'll be like, hey, like my project keeps crashing, and I don't really know. Like I say like try this and this, and then it just doesn't work, and then I don't really like. I do tell people often like, hey, sorry, I don't really know the solution to that right now, but I'll try to keep it in mind. But
Yeah,
sometimes it like it's half and half. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, you just need to reset your workspace.
right. Oh, it's like the effects window is no longer there. Have you tried resetting your
Yeah,
workspace?
yeah, that's actually a big one actually when you're first starting out. So
It
I
is.
try my best.
It
Yeah,
is. Like I've done a couple tutorials on my page, on my channel as well. And I always try to remember to say, if your workspace doesn't look like this, here's what you got to do to get it to look like that. Just click and drag your windows, man. And then remember to save it too. If that workspace is working for you, that's a big one too. So I edit on Windows, and I noticed that there is like Premiere is not stable. I don't think it's stable. It really isn't. And I've actually been I don't want to say transitioning, but I've been dabbling into Resolve just to see how Resolve works. For an example, Warp Stabilizer. So you've messed with Warp Stabilizer, and
yeah,
with like Premiere is like you have to go through a couple different steps. It analyzes, and sometimes when it analyzes and you look at it, it looks like Jello. Your footage is like just not right.
yeah.
Then I tried it in Resolve, and it's there's literally a button on the right that just says Stabilize. You click Stabilize, and it passes through once. You're done. when you're using Adobe Premiere, have you noticed, like, what are your hurdles when you're using it that even you're like, come on, Adobe, what the hell?
Yeah. I make memes a lot about like the project crashing, but it's
Oh
just
my
like a
God.
meme. I don't know. They don't really crash that much. Actually, it doesn't really crash, but the warp stabilizer thing, yeah, like sometimes, depending on the clip, sometimes it works great. Sometimes it looks like Jello. I'd say the biggest thing for me in general, with any editor is just like it would be really amazing if somehow computers got so good that like there's no render time, there's no buffering. Yeah, just in general, like sometimes some effects. I mean, I'm working on a really good machine, but some I haven't always, and sometimes if I'm on a laptop, you always want everything to export super fast and render super fast and buffer super fast, and sometimes there's just some effects that are very intensive, and I don't necessarily think it's like an issue with the software, but some effects when you combine like a warp stabilizer and a timer map and a strobe and all this stuff and color grading, it can get a little intense if you're using powerful like timer mapping and After Effects sort of things. But that's why you wouldn't do those on 10-minute long clips. You do them on like little spots and areas.
So Justin, how do you feel about when people ask you, like, do you get a lot of people asking you, hey, can you create this logo or a specific graphic or something like that? Do you get that a lot?
When you do, technical stuff on the computer, like videos or photo editing, a lot of people, like friends and family or people might automatically assume that you just do everything, like, and they'll ask you to make them a logo or something, and it's completely out of you know, your skill set. But people like lump everything in,
Yeah.
and no, I don't like doing. I have one friend, he's a real good friend, and he always comes up with a business idea and asks me to like, can you just whip this up for me in Photoshop?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't, no more logos.
Yeah, logos, that's like the worst ask. The logo thing drives me crazy. Or just even like, hey, I need a trifold or a brochure or a menu design. And it's like,
Yeah, I've done all of that stuff. I think as a freelancer, you just got to do a little bit of everything. But it's the
yeah.
same thing with video work. Like, I can do everything, but I think it's good to know that even though, like, yeah, I got this microphone, I set up the audio, but I'm not an audio engineer, and I'm not like, it works and I figured it out enough to make content, but
Yeah.
I'm not an audio engineer, and I have, my cameras and I can shoot and I know how to set the exposure, but I'm not, I guess, anyone can be a director, but like, I'm not a lighting expert. I'm not like,
Right.
there's all these different segments that it's good to know that
Like
are their
you
own
know
job.
enough to get yourself through any situation, but you're not like a master at any particular one of those.
Yeah. I would
Right.
say like I'm an expert at editing,
Right.
like video editing specifically, like the effects, the menus, the edit, like that. I would say, yeah, I'm an expert in that, but I also need to know how to do lighting, but I'm an amateur at lighting.
Have you ever messed with 3D stuff? Do you do like Blender or any of that?
I have messed with it a little, but very much like beginner level.
I
But
get
I
stuck
used
at
to do
making a
it like,
donut.
yeah,
I can make a donut, and that's like the best I can do.
yeah.
Yep.
Those are like my big idea goals, like maybe learning 3D and maybe learning Illustrator.
Yeah.
I'm capable, I think, but I just haven't
I feel like Illustrator is
explored too
going to go
much.
away one day, so I don't know if I want to learn it.
Interesting. I never thought of that.
I think it
Maybe
can. I think it
maybe
can.
video editing will just get automated away
Oh
as
no,
well.
don't say that. I mean, with the way Instagram Reels is looking, maybe.
All these apps, I don't know, but I think there will always be a place for a human like making a decision on the look of it, but I don't know if we're always going to have to do like the tedious masking work like rotoscoping.
Right.
And I actually hope that a lot of that stuff just gets like one click solution
Yeah,
away.
dude, there's websites now that do it. There's websites that like you can just go to this website and upload it and it will extract it, extract the foreground from the background. They do a pretty good job, but it's still not as good as something as I would say like in After Effects. All right, cool, Justin. Thanks for stopping in and just having a chat with me about all the things that are YouTube related, filmmaking, and just editing. It was awesome, dude. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks everyone for listening.
All right, see ya.